Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to another build outline video. This is my second time recording this because the first time my audio was a little scuffed. But first things first, I won't make a video next week. I have some personal matters to attend to, but the week after that, we're going to do some stuff with some hunter housekeeping and potentially the new exotic trace rifle, Aegir Scepter. But this week, we're going to be taking a look at Titans. And an exotic that I have thought to be very underrated for a very long time. We're going to look at the exotic Hallowfire Heart, which has the perk on it, Sunfire Forge. Now it says, improves the recharge rate of your solar abilities and greatly improves recharge rate while your super is charged. So essentially, by wearing this chest plate and having a solar subclass equipped, your abilities are going to recharge faster. And then when you get to your super, they're going to charge really fast. Like absurdly fast. It's really good. Now, this season, you can pair this with middle tree hammers, big bonk hammer, and throwing hammers, and withering heat for thermoclastic strike, stun overload champs, debuff them, clean them up. And with the buff to the little tiny hammer, it's actually really good. You've probably seen people using like Worm God's Caress with it, with Roaring Flames ×3 to one-shot everything in the game, but this is a little more humble, I guess you should say. Now, for this build, I used Elemental Well mods, because those are the things that buddies are trying to push, so I'm trying to make a few of these with them and see how well they work. Now, first things first, I used Font of Might. Picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass grants a temporary bonus to weapon damage of the same elemental type. So what's going to happen is you're using your solar element. You're using hammers, middle or bottom or top or whatever you want to use. So all your solar weapons are going to have a 25% increase to damage for 10 seconds. Now, if you can time this right at a boss, this thing is... your weapons are going to hit really, really hard, especially if you're using things like 1K and Mythoclast and Cartesian Coordinate with Vorpal Weapon. Now, the other one I use is Well of Life. Picking up a Solar Elemental Well grants increased health regeneration for a short period of time. Now, I'm using this because there's no charge with light in this build. There is no protective light. There is none of that. This is your survivability right now. Now, for Grandmasters, I might swap that out. I might take a hit to my damage for Font of Might for survivability, because surviving is more important than damage in a Grandmaster. But for now, I'm going to use this because it's fun. It gives you 10 seconds of healing, so if you're using this with your middle tree hammer, middle tree throwing hammer, when you pick up your throwing hammer, you get health regen. You start your health regen. So it's really, really good. And the Elemental Ordnance, defeating combat with a grenade spawns an elemental well that matches your subclass. This is just to spawn my elemental wells. Kill something with your thermite grenade, get your well buffs. It's really good. And then finally, Font of Wisdom. Picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type grants you a temporary significant increase in your intellect, improving the recharge rate of your super. So basically, you throw a thermite grenade, you pick up your well, your little elemental well, you get damage bonus, you get healing, and now you have max intellect. You have 100 intellect for 30 seconds, which is really, really good to help you get your super faster, so you can proc the Hallowfire Forge perk, Hallowfire Heart perk quicker. Something really cool to note here is that Wellspring will work really well with this as well. The perk that lets you, get a kill and recharge all of your abilities that are not charged. So, pair that with Hallowfire Heart and even bottom tree hammers for sunspots to even increase it even further. Now, the weapons we're going to be looking at today are mostly solar. Actually, they're all solar except for your kinetics. You don't have to use solar weapons to get this build to work. I just use solar weapons to take advantage of the Font of Might. Now, obviously, if you're not going to use Font of Might, don't have to worry so much about the element. But first we have autos. Now, again, auto rifles are the only thing for barrier this season outside of Ariana's Vow, which comes with barrier automatically. So we have Chroma Rush, which comes from Season of the Splicer. It has Wellspring. It comes with Wellspring, so, you know, you could use that. I know that 720s aren't really the best for, like, you know, PvE content, or higher end content, I should say. And then you have Cherusi, whatever the hell, the auto rifle from this season. It's a solar weapon, so it benefits from the 25% damage buff from Font of Might. Bows, if you don't want to use your melee, if you want to use bottom tree hammers and not get too close to the enemies and overload them without thermoclastic strike, you're going to need a bow. You have Tiku's Divination, which is the season pass weapon from Season of the Chosen. It's an exotic bow. It's pretty good. I haven't used it too much for overloads. I like to use Le Monarch because Le Monarch easy. And another bow you want to try to, you know, look out for is Tyranny of Heaven. This is the bow from the Last Wish raid. If you still need 1k, you know, 1,000 voices, you know, the raid exotic, or you're helping people get it, just keep an eye out for it. It's a solid option. It's solar, you know, 25% damage buff. It's really, really good. Now we're going to go to fusion rifles and linear fusion rifles. We're going to do the legendaries first, then the exotics. So you have Cartesian Coordinate, which is a solar rapid-fire frame that comes with Vorpal weapon. This thing has been my go-to for DPS for pretty much anything. The Vorpal weapon is really good, and with particle deconstruction, it stacks its perk really, really fast, and it hits really, really hard because of that. It's a rapid-fire frame, so without particle decon, it's okay. And then you have Corsair's Wrath, which is the solar linear fusion rifle from Season of the Hunt. The best thing it comes with the high impact reserves. It's not a crazy good fusion rifle, or linear fusion rifle. And then for exotics, we have 1,000 Voices, which is the Last Wish raid exotic. It's a death beam. This thing is cracked. It's one of the better DPS options that we have this season for a fusion rifle. It's a fusion rifle, you know? It's a heavy fusion rifle, you know? People are like, oh, Sleeper's better. Yes, Sleeper technically is better damage-wise, but you gotta hit all them crits. And with certain enemies in this game, you can't really hit their crits that easily. You know, you got things like Wyverns. You can't really hit their crit, you know, easy. They hurt. They hurt bad. So one case is a fire and forget, deal damage kind of weapon. And then finally, the one weapon I do not have is Vex Mythoclast. Now, at the beginning of the season, they buffed this thing to holy hell and back. It's really good. I don't have it yet. I've been melted by it about 1 billion times in the Crucible. I want it real bad. If you're going to use Mythoclast, don't use Elemental Ordnance. Use Elemental Armaments. It is a primary solar fusion rifle. You're going to proc particle deconstruction with it, and you're going to get a lot of elemental wells. So you're going to almost always have your elemental well abilities. You're going to have your max intellect, you're going to have your regen, and you're going to have your 25% damage buff. So the whole point of this little build is get your super and keep it. Use your elemental well, your font of wisdom, and get your super as fast as possible. In my experience, hammers are not the best thing to bring into a Grandmaster content. So with this, you're really just going to use your abilities to manage adds and potentially take out some champions. You know, Thermoclastic Strike, Withering Heat, if you're using that, it's going to be great. In my wholehearted opinion, bottom tree hammers have the best little ability, buff, passive, whatever you want to call it in the game. Sunspots are amazing. You get ability regen, you get damage buff, you know, it's great. And then of course the bottom tree, you also, when you get a solar ability kill, like a grenade, or your melee, or even your super, you get healed. It's insane. If you don't want to use Thermoclastic Strike, use Sunspots. If you want to use Thermoclastic Strike, use Middle Tree. You know, throw that hammer, you know, proc the Thermoclastic Strike. Because you don't really want to get too close to overload champions in Grandmaster content. I did a 1290 today, and I didn't want to get any of the overload champions there either. So hopefully you can take a little inspiration from this video, do what you need to do to make it your own. Again, you don't have have to use the solar weapons. It's just really, really helpful for Font of Might. And with that being said, I hope everybody has a good week. I will be back in, not next week, but the week after. So hopefully, you can get Mythoclast and make this work for you. And with that being said, I hope everybody has a good week. And hopefully that RNG blesses them to the highest so you can get what you need to get. So I'll be seeing ya.